right before the beat drop. Awesome. Awesome. I love the beat drop. Anyway, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 7 Days of Summer Lost Alpha. Finally remember the name of the game first try? Okay. Now, in the last episode, we managed to get Semyon to live up to his promise and do what he said he was going to do, and dance with Slavia. We're pretty proud of it. We're pretty glad about that. But I said I would not believe him anymore when he said things, and I'm sticking by that. I'm not going to believe him anymore when he says that he's going to do shit, because he never does. Anyway, she took my hand that's in hers, placed one at her waist, and grabbed the other so that there was no point in thinking about running away. Smart girl. We're gonna dance. I want it. And again, go figure out in what sense those wishes work for her. Basically, if you know a person even a little bit, the eye gets used to the way they behave, their facial expressions, their reactions, and any appearance of unnaturalness can be discerned if you're observant enough. Miss. It just doesn't work with Slavia. She was making eye contact with me the whole time she was dancing, and it was really, really bad. Because basically the only way I could get my ego down to the floor was with a look at that. I mean, I was quite admitting that there were people who vitally needed direct eye contact during intercourse. But Slavia hasn't shown herself to be such a person so far. Has she been adjusting to me? Probably only her hypnotic influence could explain the fact that after a few seconds of obscuration, I found myself much closer to her than before. Except for the fact that my hands weren't seeking warmth on my partner's back, the dance was still the same, which I had already become accustomed to in a couple of minutes. Except that we danced it at the distance I was used to from the camps, and that's not a pioneer distance at all. And I guess that made us stand out from the crowd. Is he gonna get slimed by Olga Dmitrievna? It's like, whoa, hey, you two need to stay like a couple more feet away. Although I was cowardly averting my eyes, letting my gaze bounce over to the pioneers dancing nearby. Miku froze behind the turntables, Olga Dmitrievna smiling and shaking her head in time with the music. I saw that there was something wrong, that we weren't dancing right. But I guess it was a little late to overdo it, wasn't it? Especially since Slavia had already successfully coped with herself and I stopped blushing like a poppy. And somewhere she was even beginning to enjoy herself. I think she's been enjoying herself for a while, Semyon. I don't know, I guess. Because the very next second my ear was scorched with hot breath. Semyon? Hello? It seems that somewhere something has finally checked out and we tuned into the same frequency. I, even without being able to see her, knew that Slavia was smiling. And her smile is a light, bright one. Yes. You don't have to be afraid of me. Ah, yes, there are reasons, you know. Even though I was forcing myself to relax and not bone up, I was still perceptibly nervous. You just have to tell me that it makes you nervous, and I'll back off. No. Nervous? But it's not something I'm willing to give up. A second later, I felt her head on my shoulder. And after a minute, and the song was over. But I didn't seem to notice that at all. Slavia was still basking on my chest, a few millimeters farther away than up close. But just enough to feel the beat of life on the other side. It wasn't until now, when I stopped cycling myself, that I realized how fast her heart was beating. Quick. I would call that a huge, great success. Congratulations, everybody. We did it. And the best of all, he didn't bail on her. Woo! He did it. Let's all give a rousing round of applause. He did it, folks. Do I believe him now? No, I still don't. I'm scared. All this has done is make me even more wary of everything he's gonna do next, because you know he'll pull it out when you least expect it. The betrayal, I mean. The girl bit her lip and looked into my eyes as she pulled away. Again. When will she ever get tired of embarrassing me? When will you ever get tired of embarrassing yourself? That's the real question. Thanks for the dance. I unclasped my hands, forbidding myself to think about what it might mean. I said, forbidding myself to think. Miku moved the record. Will you go to the next one? We need to survive to see the next one, I answered evasively. I'm gonna get some air, okay? My head's a mess. Just get all the air you want, buddy. Slavia nodded and let me go. Yeah, you can't expect too much from this man, okay? Every little counts. And I, seeking salvation from a maddened heart and unsolicited thoughts, decided to turn to the primordial force. That's very interesting. To water. Why does it happen this way? It's also strange, almost inexplicable from any point of view. And yet, there are. For example, Slavia's almost mystical ability to find me wherever I hide. And you should be very thankful for that, Semyon, otherwise we wouldn't be here now. Yes, it's certainly no use playing hide-and-seek with her. There was no way I could figure out how it worked. Sometimes, you're just a very predictable man, Semyon. Is that to a fault? Arguably not. You know, there's a lot of debate that could be made on that. I'd say you're just stupid. So all I have to do is accept the fact that I called into a far dark corner now. Sooner or later, the girl will get worried, and... right, she'll find me anywhere. The question is whether I want to be found. That is indeed the question. See, he's learning so much. But then again, he learned so much last time, and look where that got us. Or maybe I want this farce to be over, and for the ever-increasingly busy, mind-numbing blonde to finally get back to square one. After all, the closer a man gets, the more power you give him over you. Okay. He can hit harder than an outsider, scarier than a betrayal. But this is about you, Semyon, don't forget. This is in your hands. Although betrayal is probably not about Slavia. Though I've only known her for 3 days. Who knows what skeletons are out there in the dusty closets? If I keep sitting here, somebody else is sure to find me. People like to leave the dance to get somewhere, even if it's an open-air dance. And it draws such young, romantic people. That's right, where there's a splash of waves and a moonlit path. I imagine Slavia and some abstracted man in a pioneer uniform racing to find me, and I snorted. What a popular personality. Here we go. Here we go. Roast sesh. Thinking back on how you were canvassed after supper, at least one more candidate is sure to be found. How about going back to the dance? It's noisy, but no one will be yanking you at least. You know what? For, I think, the second time ever now, the voice raises a good point. I wondered. Oh. I mean, the opposite of stay on the beach. Hold on. Whoa. Hey. Whoa. Okay. Let's think about this. Let's seriously think about this for a second. I don't know. I don't know what the game wants me to do here. The best and most obvious choice would be to go back to the dance and have another dance with her and whatever you want. But there is a point to be made that perhaps the idea is to get her to come to us, to the beach. This is a tricky one. Both options sound equally as plausible. And then, and you know, I've been thinking about sort of my very rigid policy of just get him and Slavia close to each other at all costs. And I've been thinking, you know, this isn't going to work. At least my policy isn't going to work. It will only work insofar as the game keeps giving me the obvious answers to whatever queries we're presented with. But when the answer is not obvious, the policy completely falls apart. There's no reason to follow a policy when you don't really know what the outcome for each thing is going to be. In which case, it makes... No, hold on. Now, let's think about this. Because the options aren't stay on the beach or go back to dancing. The options are stay on the beach and she won't get me on dances. What does that mean? We need to think. I feel like this is, for about the second or third time ever, I think whatever I'm about to choose here is going to send me on a path. I don't know which answer is the better one. I really don't know. But I think as soon as I, you know, wait a couple of minutes and see what happens afterwards, then I'll know instantly what I should have picked. I will know instantly what I should have picked. But what does this mean? She won't get me on dances. What does it all mean? I mean, think about this. We still got 4 days to be with her at the beach. Yeah, I know. we've still got, put it this way, we still got 4 days to be with her at the beach. We did say we'd be at the beach with her. Technically, we've already been to the beach with her. We just haven't done anything with her. Okay. You know what? Coin will tell us what to do. You can't see. I could pull out the Soviet coin. Hold on. Okay. So, let me look for the coin again. Let me look for the... Okay. And because it's a big decision... Okay, so, I've got the coin. And because it's a big decision, we're gonna use a higher value coin. We're gonna use the 15 kopecks. Hell yeah, 15 whole kopecks. It's 15 cents, baby. Can you even see that? Hold on, I need you to see this. It's beautiful. I love it. One of the favorite coins in my collection. Alright, so, heads is stay on the beach, tails is she won't get me on dances. Oh shit, I dropped it. Oh, okay. Yeah, screw it. Heads. That's heads. Stay on the beach. I'm not sure if that's the correct choice. I was a bit scared of what she won't get me on dances might mean. I guess the good idea, the best idea is to stay on the beach. I've been feeling silly all day today, acting silly and thinking only exclusively silly things. It's as if I've really turned 17 again and the nightlight stays on by bed until morning, and line after line lays down in straight lines telling the world why it's beautiful. A mood of poems, fairy tales, and the obligatory fulfillment of the most cherished wishes. The world, you are beautiful. Because Yugoslavia. Very true. I exhale into the humid night air, listening to the surf beating beneath my feet. I don't seem to have succeeded in smothering the unnecessary. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Also, that dance, of course. Of course, Slavia didn't say anything or push me away, though she should have. She should not have. She needn't. She needn't. I think... There are very... Oh! Damn it. Put it away. Okay. I think there are very clear motives and intentions behind the majority of what Slavia does, and Semyon is just a very, very stupid man. After all, the pioneer distance was invented for a reason. But her smell... Okay. Interesting start, but okay. I understand. I do not agree, but I understand. Her smell, her warmth, her voice. Gave up and swam? What to do? It's not like there's anywhere else nearby where you can so conveniently escape to on canteen duty. And you yourself haven't already? No? I sighed sorrowfully. Even though she seems to be the one who's been running after me all 3 days and coaxing me to not be a boogeyman, it looks like we'll be switching roles very soon. Unless something happens to save me. That would be the opposite of saving. But yeah. Luck saving throw. Whoop! Lucky rescue. Where are you? Hello? There was a creaking sound of sand under footsteps behind me, and a hand rested on my shoulder. Gee whiz! I wonder who it could possibly be. Oh, never mind. I did not. Okay. Fair enough. Sorry for assuming. Good evening. The cybernetic nodded to me. You're the one who's gonna help out? I rejoiced, however, hiding a triumphant smile. Why? What are you planning? El, buddy, what brings you here? The boy raised an eyebrow questioningly. I don't know how to do that, but obediently answered. Remember the conversation after supper? Oh, you want to... Okay, so you needed my help. Yep, he nodded. Then lead the way. That's fine. You know what? Sure, why not? Does it really even matter? Electronic led me down a short path to the clubhouse where a friend of his was already crumpling on the porch. To be fair, it can't all be Slavia. And I like these two. They're funny. They're funny. This must be something very important. If you're pulling a man away from a dance, there must be a damn good reason. About the fact that they essentially saved me from unnecessary worries, I did not inform them that the true master is devoid of pride. Okay, gentlemen, where do we start? Electronic poked his friend in the side with his elbow. I told you he'd come! Shudik looked surprised, to say the least. So are you gonna outline my work site, or are we gonna chat on the porch? On the roof. Yeah. And there's no chance of doing everything from the attic, of course. No, but we got a ladder. He went to the club and pulled out a lightweight aluminum stepladder. Here. He put up the ladder and made an inviting gesture. What, just like that? I didn't hide my horror. What if I fall down there in the dark? You won't. There are 2 lanterns to light everything. Why didn't you smartasses go up there yourselves? Both of us looked at each other and kept silent. Looks like they're really afraid of heights, or there's a hornet's nest, or I don't know. Wait a minute. Electronic handed me a green canvas purse with something rattling in it. And what's in there? I wasn't even going to look inside. An unnecessary object on a ladder is fraught with the risk of flying off it. Something that wouldn't help if I decided to be a hero? And there are tools in there. Screwdrivers and wrenches and stuff if you need them. And where should I put it? So that's, attach it to the belt, but there's a carbine. And try not to lose them up there. This is the best we found. Oh, how I wanted to send them up there themselves, to keep an eye on their own junk. Don't worry, I won't lose it. I gritted my teeth and took the first step, testing the ladder for strength. I'll hold you up. A little stability really can't hurt. Can you at least tell me roughly what's up there? Unknown. The transmitter is directly in the attic, so it's unlikely to be damaged. The rest we'll have to look at. Good luck. Here we go, with a prayer. I took the second step. Good luck. I wish you don't snap your neck for some unknown good. If only there was more sensible alternatives. Maybe Slavia. Slavia would have no problem with that. Where's she gonna go, you fool? I'll give you a hint. She didn't climb up on the stool in the camp leader's office because she wasn't afraid to show you her underwear. Quiet, coyotes. If you drooled a little less and observed the situation, you'd realize that the girl had a phobia. Fear of heights, panic attacks. What is this man talking about? So you're a hero, yes. You'll be lying all broken and in a cast, and the camp will have its own radio. Hey man, you're coming to the right conclusion with all the wrong calculations. And who knows, maybe you'll get lucky and Slavia won't stop by and say thanks. You're a real friend. Some friend, not a weenie. So in this now familiar mode of internal dialogue, I didn't notice I took the third and fourth steps, so much so that my hands could have grabbed the roof by now. I hope it's really worth it. It's worth it, of course. We have our own radio. Isn't it exciting? Very. The ladder went sideways somewhere, rattled against the steel, and I clung to the edge, barking. Hey, you hooker hands, hold the ladder properly! My legs suddenly felt like cotton and my heart was pounding somewhere in my throat. Shurik, get onto the other side! Shurik seemed to obey his friend because the balance that had been lost was restored. I got it. It won't be hard, they said. Just get the radio up and running, they said. If I throw up in fear now, it will all end up on the 2 idiots below. After calming my heartbeat a little, I took another step and hooked on the roof. Climbed. I sat down right on the wet iron and breathed deeply and deeply for a few seconds, coping my fear. Oh, this is fucking extreme. Simeon, how are you? Safe and I swallowed. Sound, you don't have to hold the ladder yet. We're done here if you need anything. If what? All I need now is to switch places with someone. Finally got over the body shaking and got up very carefully. Where do I go? To that slope. There's an auditory window there, and there should be a cable running from it. Very timely information, thank you. Slipping up by the second, I moved upward, lingered a little at the roof ledge, looking for the aforementioned window, and headed up there. The music is really very dramatic for just him climbing on the roof. There really was an abundance of cables. They were laid out in a sort of crude sort of conduit, a thick bundle of them going under the window, but covering the whole empty space so that there was no fear of flooding in a rainstorm. It took a while to find the antenna, but managed that task as well. I traced its direction with my eyes and noticed that about midway up the roof, it was pinned by a thick, dry branch. Just don't fall over, just don't fall over. I preferred to walk on the ridge, at least here I could react and sit down quick, especially since you can reach the crash site from here too. Swinging the branch, I pushed it aside. Look out! With a tiny rustle, the branch drove across the roof and went off into the darkness, where it rattled and hit the ground. From the looks of it, its weight was just enough to rip the plug out the socket. Nothing hard, didn't even need tools. I lifted the plug off the roof and, driving it into the socket, wiggled it around a bit, testing. Folks, go check it out. Is it working? Now! There was a stomping sound underfoot, the rumble of the slammed door. The nearest tiny loudspeaker suddenly blew, and I almost toppled right over from where I was sitting. Are you trying to cripple me? You can't scare me like that! There was a stomping sound beneath my feet again, and the darkness in Electronic's voice echoed. Everything works, Sammy. Thank you. You can calm down. Aha, now for the fun part. Trying not to think about how I was going to descend, I staggered towards the stairs. However, Providence had already taken care of the descent. Under my foot, a dark blur flashed an unnoticed leaf, slippery from the evening dew, and before I could even be frightened, I splashed awkwardly, losing what little balance I had left. Time froze. Okay, you know what? To be fair, I knew this was gonna happen. I saw this coming from a mile away. I was just waiting. I didn't have time to be surprised or frightened. I didn't even have time to exhale. I just watched the edge of the roof move away from me. Bye-bye. Kablamo. The earth blew the spirit out of me. I dreamed of Slavia. You better. You better. Because that might have been the end. There you go. That's the end of the game. Good job. Congratulations. I dreamed of Slavia. Okay. Well, at least she's here now. I'm pretty sure that means we're on the Slavia route. I mean, that's what it meant in the original game. And not just such cheerful music. What the fuck? We nearly just fucking died. There is no need for all that cheer. A hereditary slacker and a specimen of God's talentless waste, Semyon Semyonovich Bersonov, whose greatest achievement was a repaired antenna, was now lying down in the infirmary. You know what? At least he didn't go back to his shitty, awful world. It's fine. Everything is fine. After a skirmish with a dreaded enemy, the slippery roof. Yeah, the word lucky definitely doesn't describe me. It's just as it is. Instead of quietly cuddling the cuddly... Whoa, hey, whoa, hey! Whoa! Whoa! In the blue sundress, the idiot went to help two similar idiots with a fear of heights. Slavia, by the way, was just as agoraphobic, so she wasn't even considered for the job. Or acrophobic? If only knowing the exact term would somehow help me deal with the results of my ability. Results? How would it be without swearing? Oh, right. Slipped, fell, woke up, Viola. No, thank goodness, no casts. All in all, fell on a solid bone. If it had needed a cast, the story would have been a lot sadder. Alright, what are we talking about? Yeah. So the vision test plate. There was a special name for it, but I can't remember for the life of me. And the nurse certainly has a sense of humor. And the way she shuffled the letters, it was not only pretty good, but also remarkably dark. A drawing of some freak skeleton in the corner, no doubt stolen from a sneaking UFO. And a computer of unknown models sitting on the table. To the word behind which Violeta Ternovna was now tinkering with nothing but the Xonics. Pardonnez-moi, I read it in Ukrainian again. Ukrainian? Xonics, of course. An arcade of classics at the time, from the brainless... I'm stupid. An arcade classic of all time, the brainless painted out field that has migrated virtually unchanged from the Pioneer knives. My mother, that's our man. What is he talking about? Okay, graphics are on EGA level, but that's not what's important. She looked away from painting with a field with an ASCII-style image of a naked maiden and turned in my direction. Ah, shit, I have to give her a voice. She hasn't talked since, like, episode 2, and I didn't make her voice then, so... Arisen, Pioneer. She nodded somewhere in my lap area, and I followed her gaze. Okay, I've decided all the adults and Electronic are gonna get Russian accents. Everyone else, just whatever I feel like. Yeah, Arisen. Woke up. That too. How do you feel? I tried to shake my head cheerfully and very vainly did so. I won't drink that much ever again. You all say that. She grinned. The back of my head ached and my fingers jerked away, coming across a bandage soaked in some damp abomination. What happened to me? And not much. Minor concussion of the interstitial ganglion. You'll be running by tonight. That's very good, because I have places to be. If everything is so rosy, why am I here? Viola shrugged her shoulders. They told me to treat you. Will you let me? I'm not sure if I will, lady. Thank you, but no. I'm good, thanks. Unyieldingly, I replied. I think I'll pass for now. Then I don't know anything. You don't embarrass me. You don't ask me to eat. By the way, how about eating? And she pointed to the pots which appeared to contain provisions for the sick man. I was a little nauseous and didn't want to eat. But when I refused free food, even though I had no appetite because of the concussion of the cranial nerve knot, I nodded and gratefully accepted the breakfast. And before breakfast, drink this. She held out to me a wrapped up piece of transparent paper with some kind of powder rustling on it. Intercepting my gaze, she nodded. Otherwise, I won't let you out of the infirmary. What the fuck is this What the fuck is this lady doing? Whatever. Watching me carefully as I drank my medicine, I couldn't get away from the impression that I was a volunteer test group for some new medicine. Viola smiled. We just got roofied. And now chew. We just got so roofied, and while you're chewing, I listen to this. There are freeloaders walking around the camp and looking in every corner. See if anyone happens to look in here. Pretend I bandaged you in training. Excuse me? And not my words. It was the director who checked it. Ah. There are some important bumps among the parents. Sounds to me like a bunch of freeloaders who had a bad time coinciding with vacations. What? The nurse got up, went over to the medicine cabinet, and jumped up and removed some rectangular object from the top. Blow, spit, wiped the cuffs, instantly stained gray, and she hung the object right on top of the vision test table. The object turned out to be everyone's favorite, unforgettable comrade with brown glasses and incomprehensible accomplishments. Comrade Genda, in short. Why is he there? There was even a saying of some sort on a gold in gold on a mournful background, but I didn't look closely. Who knows? Maybe they'll ask why I don't have a portrait of the General Secretary in here. I mean, the General Secretary should be Gorbachev by this point. And I do. You seeing this? Let there be Genda. Genda's not the General Secretary, though. Genda's some dude. The General Secretary is Mikhail Gorbachev. Although maybe we're in some parallel universe where Genda saves the Union. God, I wish that was the case. But then again, I don't know Genda's policy. I don't know if he's a reformist. I don't know if he's an old guard. I don't know what he is. So I can't confirm nor deny that he would have saved the Union. True, a little fly covered and a little dusty, but nobody cares, do they? Most importantly, you can see the round glasses, the fancy white gloves, and the Leninist beard framing the sarcastic smirk. Approximately. You chew, fat in your sides. It's disgraceful when you weigh less than a girl you're dating. Okay. Oh. Am I dating someone? I asked politely. And no, of course. You're on your own. And the pioneer girl who carried you on the back did so out of great friendship, not waiting for a stretcher, or at least Boris Alexandrovich. This is great. I'm having a fun... After all the bullshit Semyon put me through, I'm finally having a blast playing this thing again. She's on her own, too. Especially on her own. The one with the complexes, who kept trying to wash her shirt until she was first affected by the oral method. Oral? Well, Viola stroked the edge of the edges of her lips with her index and middle fingers. Yeah, I figured as much. I would have reacted, honestly. I'd probably even blush. I don't know what she means by any of this, but not like that. You're boring. Yeah, but I think anyone with a working vision can tell that. Ternovna sighed. Get out of here outside. Fresh air is good for a growing body. Listen, I have nothing against you, lady, but you're not comfortable to be around. You do not kindle joy. Nodding to her, I hastened to do just that. I just finished my breakfast by this point, so I gladly complied with her demand. And feeling like a grandmother in a handkerchief, I settled down on a bench next to the infirmary. Our medicine, they say, is both dangerous and difficult. I got bored just sitting there, so I first stretched out my legs on the beach and then on the bench, and then spread out on the sun-warmed planks. Propped my cheeks on my palms and began to study the flickering camp life thoughtfully. The infirmary, despite the fact that it was practically in the geographical center of the camp, was so sensibly fenced off by greenery and folds of terrain that it hid as if in a pocket where the pounding activity of backbending pioneers almost did not reach. The day was spreading, the sun was rolling toward the zenith, and as if charged by photocells, the pioneers scurrying back and forth accelerated and accelerated. From my vantage point, I could see a small piece of the square with Genda fixing his glasses, Olga Dmitrievna's rostrum, the web of paths leading to the residential buildings, the brick cube of the administration building visible at the edge of my vision. If we continue in our chosen direction, the path will lead to the centers of our culture and science, respectively the Miku's abode and the clubs. The layout is thoughtful, everything is serious. That's some wonderful architectural analysis, Semyon, but you should go talk to someone. The standard for the required number of square meters per hypothetical nose is met exactly, so that no one would feel cramped. It must have been great to come here with everyone else on the first day of check-in. Of which shift was it? The second one? Yeah. Together with everyone else, to get acquainted, to check in. And then maybe they wouldn't put me with a counselor. Although I don't mind, not at all, but with some electronic or some pioneers from the second or third squad. And they would have put a picture of me in the photo albums yesterday, too. By now everyone would have made friends. I would have found myself in a steady circle of acquaintances, and a fellowship, dark corners, and books. In short, everything as I used to. There's nothing good about coming here with everyone else. That way I look exotic and fresh. I'm popular, and they don't grind their teeth at me with annoyance. Get off. Some chunky pioneer was dragging some gray cube object somewhere, stopping momentarily and correcting his slipping hands. He would have grabbed his oversized cargo more comfortably, but there was a coil of gray braided cord dangling from his right arm. Internet guy found the local equivalent of free Wi-Fi? Alright, no more drinks for Semyon. Somewhere in the distance, at the edge of earshot, a police gauze roared its engine and drove off into the blue realm of the local Great Soviets, cardboard sausages, and unification and everything, including clothing style. Holy yap! What the fuck could possibly have happened between falling and waking up that has caused him to yap with such fervor? Not gonna complain though, at least he's not being, you know, the way he usually is. Contemplation quickly bored me, and I got up, shaking off the paint scales and pine needles stuck to my shirt. My head wasn't giving me a reason to worry, so I decided to take a sort of promenade around the infirmary, stretching my legs a little. There wasn't much else to do anyway, and I didn't want to fight Viola for the right to cut into Xonix. Not yet, anyway. It's not like I'm leaving the medical facility. But anyway, I'm on vigilant duty, despite my battle wound. The inspector should be proud of me. Well, I've got to at least do something. Maybe play partisan and crawl to the library? It might work in principle. I'd have to get dangerously close to the main road to do that, though, and that's fraught. It's amazing how sad it is without the internet. I mean, the last 3 days I've been distracted by all sorts of interesting acquaintances, events, and so on. Now that's it! Come on, at least give me a calculator. Let me press some buttons. Calculators are not available, to say the least. Or distract me with something else. I'll even settle for an interesting book. There's a whole library of them, buddy. There's this thing called a library? But I don't think Viola has anything that would interest me. I suspect she has a vinaigrette of medical encyclopedias and women's romance novels. But I can't just chase her into the library. She'll refuse it herself and scold me, and she's right to do so. Also, I could lurk in the bushes and jump out and take a hostage. And threatening his life and health. With what? For example, with this bandage, reeking of Vinichowski's ointment, making him get into a car and drive at top speed to the mainland, to the nearest district center, which is rumored to be about 2-3 hours of not-so-cheerful driving away. Oh, I'm gonna be famous on TV and the newspapers. Speaking of the media, I risked my occipital bone yesterday for the freedom of the local radio station. Why can't I hear them on the active air? There was the usual summer silence over the camp, undisturbed by anything other but the occasional song of grasshoppers and scraps of conversation, nervous, restless. So there was no music accompaniment to this morning, which means that my sacrifice was wasted. Sad. Okay, Trump. And the potential hostages aren't coming. What about them? What haven't I seen in the district center? Compared to the mess going on there, Sovionok, in any case, represents the center of order and tranquility. Besides, who needs me there? Let's not rush into an early end to an anticipated vacation, since I'm not required to have any papers or money here, especially since there's not much time left. Having accomplished my marathon feat around the infirmary, I flopped back onto the bench, my eyes covered with the palm of my hand against the sun. It was an evening, but the number of classes was heading towards 0. Except for Clouds to chase with his gaze. That one looks like Moomin Troll, and that one looks like Suroyeshkin in an apron. Her heels clattered on the concrete, and she sailed into my abode of sleepy, idle drowsiness, smiled, stroked her cheek, and sat down beside me. Who else but Slavia? Hello, sunshine, I replied. Hello, how are you? Cute. What does that mean? It means I'm brain damaged and out of my mind. Slavia laughed. She was especially good today. Almost like yesterday, only even better today. She was especially good every day, though, an enchanting beast. Yesterday's remorse at the river was successfully defeated by a refreshing kick to the head. And communicating with Slavia was easy now. I had resigned myself to the fact that this level was just out of my league, and that meant friendship at best. Reel it in. Her gaze said, "You're my hero, and give me an autograph." Wasn't it something like, sign on my chest? Mm-hmm. Good morning, I take it. Evil morning. Remember when you fell over yesterday? That was quite a flight. Now she owes you at least a kiss. Okay. Owes? I have no idea what my inner voice is ranting about. Neither do I. But personally, I don't remember anyone owing me anything. After all, I'm the fool. I volunteered. I'm to blame. Intelligence reports that you dragged me from the battlefield on your own hump. Lena helped me. Weakly smiled the girl. Practically like a nurse on the battlefield. Hospital nurse. My sad love. Do you know that song? Slavia nodded. By the way, I really wanted to go into medicine. You look the part, yeah. And then become a veterinarian. And now? Well, as you said. The girl's fingers were rubbing her braid, machine-like. Rescuer. I want to help at a level where my help will be needed. Not to cure the individual animal, but to make sure it has nothing to get sick with. It'll be hard, but I'll try. I think it's my thing. It's the power point. Said a very nice, very beautiful future Nobel Prize winner in ecology who has not yet shown herself in any way in ecology. And it's okay, as long as there are putschs, as long as there are elections and re-elections of political filth, the girl won't be involved in nature in itself. Such a beautiful and talented kitty with huge blue eyes. Fair enough. Fair enough, man. I've been complaining this whole time that he's such a cynicist. So this is a change of pace. Maybe not a nice one, but it's certainly a change of pace. And yeah, God help the putschists. God help them. I wish you could get tears in those eyes just from happiness. But man, not with my luck to do it. And anyway, what am I into all this romance all of a sudden? I've got nothing better to do than ponder the fate of a girl who's a complete stranger to me, like she'd want to talk to me if anything. What? What anything, if anything? And what now? For example, Petersburg, going up from Lomonsovskaya, me from the bottom of the city, her from the city to the subway. We crossed paths, we parted ways. The next day we met in the lobby, where I held the door for her, letting her out into the city, slowed down the minibus. My mother has learned from these small gentlemanly gestures. I do them, no longer thinking. What's next? Quiet merci, and not even dignifying me with a glance. Who invented this damn romance to drive me crazy, who then walks around for 3 weeks looking for a familiar look in the crowd? What did I do to deserve this? You're kind of alienated. That's right. I'm alienated. I'm alienated from your unscenes, taken and carried away, leaving me in my swamp. That's alright, I'll soon be whimsical back. Slavia smiled. Still, you're the most unusual pioneer I've ever met. No, I'm quite usual. Just not a pioneer. I won't tell you stupid things about how every person is unique, can I? She stood up, leaving me to stare at her back, and a white see-through shirt that hugged tightly around her back. And even a band across the entire surface, giving away the owner's complete lack of a bra. Because it wouldn't be a visual novel without some fucking fan service. And on that kind of gross but pretty resignatory note, I'm going to leave today's video. So, thank you for watching today's episode of 7 Days of Summer, Lost Alpha, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.